to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, boys and girls, what's going on? Lee Sanders back with you all for an all-new RCWR show for this Monday night of August 18th, 2025. Minutes removed from Raw. Hey, we got an exclusive poll this week only. I have it posted on Twitter at the RCWR show. Let me know what you had thought about the show. I know most of you guys are used to YouTube, but we actually have a more important poll that is on the YouTube channel right now for you guys to check out. So if you haven't looked at it already, definitely let your voice be heard. Click on over at the post section once you're on our YouTube channel and you can vote that way. I'm letting the polling for that special poll stay open until this Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend, especially for those of you parents, or maybe you be that student that's getting ready to go back to school. Some of you have already gone back, depending, but as we get closer to the end of this month, they're going back. I have not seen that Staples commercial yet with the father, and he's got the Staples in his hands and pens, notebooks, and all kinds of goodies as his kids are looking on extremely depressed over the fact that they've got to go back to school. Look, I'm definitely not one to be talking, I feel your pain, my fellow American. I feel your pain. Loaded up show for you guys tonight. I'll definitely give you my thoughts about the Triplemania event that went down over the weekend. We'll also talk about key points from tonight's Monday Night Raw. We'll dip into a little AEW, TNA, MLW news as well. So you guys picked a fantastic night to tune in. So first things first, I would be kicking myself in the ass if I did not say this at the top of the show. I definitely would appreciate you all's thoughts and prayers right now for the Sanders household, because I don't know what's going on with Tams, but Tams, a couple of days ago, she was telling me that she's been having some type of heart issue. There's some weird heartbeat irregularities that's going on. She got her chest x-rayed, just the whole 9 yards. Anything that you can think of, everything was done. Nothing weird was found. Now, she did in the past couple of weeks started taking some thyroid medication, because her thyroid's been really messing with her and everything. And anybody that knows a thing or two about thyroid, that's definitely something you want to continue to stay on top of and everything. But she is continuing to have irregular breathing, heart rate. She's been complaining a lot about fatigue. It's really, really weird what's going on with her. And so she hit me up earlier today. I'm minding my own business. I'm just chilling. And she hits me up. She goes, hey, not trying to worry you, but you asked for transparency. I said, yeah. She's like, yeah, I've taken 3 bears already. I'm going, bears. Oh, the stuff, the pills. Like, you've taken 3 bears? Why? And she told me what was going on. I'm like, wait a minute, still? I thought everything checked out okay. You're fine. Like, what's going on? Because the last thing I heard was she was supposed to go pick up some type of a sleeping device because she met with her doctor, and her doctor basically said, hey, look, you might be dealing with some form of sleep apnea. To which she says, well, let me talk to my husband, because if anybody knows what's going on with me while I'm sleeping, he definitely knows. And she asked me, she said, hey, do I kind of choke a little bit sometimes when I'm sleeping? Do I stop breathing or anything of that magnitude? And I told her, well, you haven't done it in several months, but you have been known to kind of choke a little bit. I have to give you a nudge and everything because you start making some weird sounds and all that. So she, last I heard, was supposed to get some sleep test thing to monitor her and all of that. But then she hit me up today talking about how she took 3 bears. I'm like, no, that's not good. Why are you doing that? She gives me the rundown. I end up telling her, you need to go to urgent care. She assures me that she was feeling fine, but that she would go to uh, the urgent care afterwards and everything. And I asked her if she wanted me to go with her. She said, because I know you guys are hearing this, you're already like, why are you not with her right now, Lee? We are good. We don't need a show. No, she said, no, I'm good. Like, really, really, I'm good. Just go ahead, go. If anything, just, if I haven't gotten home by the time you're done with the show, just, if anything, come on back, and everything is good. And like, literally, I can show you the text message right now where she is literally saying, I mean, you can't really see this word for word, but it says here, lab work done, right? And you see that very last message that she sent. She said, go do the show. Right, so this is not make believe. This is not BS. But she says that the lab work is done, aka EKG done, and another chest X-ray done. Now they're waiting to go back, and yeah, she says go ahead, go do the show. So that's what we're doing. So please keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully, everything is a okay. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine as far as what's going on, because to my credit, she gave me this news, I would say about maybe 2.5 to almost 3 weeks ago. And I've purposely been making sure that me and her are eating healthier. We're being more picky, in particular, about certain foods that come in here. Everything. I mean, we've already done a really good job the past couple of months not eating out as much. We're lucky if we even eat out once a month. So I don't know what's going on. I'm trying not to stress over it, but I'm definitely. And then I have a update I want to give you guys, especially for those of you that are caring for older parents out there, because I got hit with a doozy today. I'm not kidding. I got hit with a doozy today. My father-in-law, and I find this out from Tams in the same phone conversation. My father-in-law went out to go grab some mail or take some mail to a neighbor a couple of homes down at the request of his roommate, who's also his landlord. And he was like, hey, can you, it looks like we got some mail here by accident for our neighbor 2 houses down. Can you? And my father-in-law was like, yeah, sure, no problem. The next thing you know, turns into 10 minutes, turns into an hour, turns into 2 hours, 3 hours, and then it's okay, what the hell is going on here? And so he went out trying to look for him, couldn't find Pops, didn't want to worry us, so he called the police, told them what was going on. Police end up finding him. I don't know the details yet. He's safe at home. I just want to stress that before I go any further. My father-in-law is safe at home, but it did take them a minute to find him. And as I've been telling you guys off and on here on the shows, my father-in-law has been dealing with definitely early signs of dementia, and it just seems that the more and more time that has gone by, it seems that the dementia is getting worse. Particularly, the dementia has been getting worse, I would say, within the past year. And when the police found my father-in-law, he was unable to tell them exactly what happened. The last thing my father-in-law does remember is his friend slash landlord asked him to take some mail a couple of homes down, and there is essentially, like, I gotta double check with Tams, but I'm pretty sure she said 3 hours. So there is a 3 hour gap that my father-in-law does not know. It's unaccounted for. He doesn't know what happened. So I would imagine there's going to be some real serious talks in the Sanders household about what are we going to do here with Pops, because at this rate, So one thing I do want to stress to those of you, especially those of you that's dealing with an older parent and their mental capacity is starting to diminish. It's at the point of what I just described is going on with my family. One of the things you can definitely do, whether it's an Android or an iOS phone, you guys know all you got to do is just program it, and you're able to say to your phone. In my case, whenever I'm out on the road and I'm in a weird area that I don't quite recognize, and all I'm trying to do is get home, I just basically say, hey, I don't want to say the rest of it because then she's going to come on and everything, and I don't need that. But, I say, take me home. And next thing you know, getting directions to home. I asked if that's something of a feature that Pops has on his phone, if that's been activated. Turns out it has not. So we're definitely going to try to make sure that's activated. So no matter what, he'll be okay. Then the other thing we're going to start looking into is I actually have a spare Apple AirTag. Those AirTags can be used for so many things, especially when it comes to keeping track of your loved ones. So we're also going to try to see what's going on with that as well. So y'all keep your fingers crossed for the Sanders household. Hopefully everything, works out okay and all that. But I wanted to say that, get that out the way, out front and everything. So look, over the weekend, just kind of liven up the mood a little bit, lighten it up and everything. Oh, besides that, right? Besides all that, everything's been pretty good. Otherwise, Sanders household. I had a little bit of an opportunity to see the Triple Mania event. I did poll you guys over the weekend. I asked you guys if you wanted a Triple Mania post show. I didn't see enough votes. I was looking for the voting to at least hit the double digits. And this was really surprising for me because I would have thought there would have been more curious minds wanting to know what was going on with that Triple Mania event. And surprisingly, there was more more folks voting on our latest poll, which has to do with the other show that's near and dear to my heart that I love doing every chance that I get with Tams, which is Wrestling with the Topics. We'll talk about that particular show and the poll later on. But yeah, was prepared to talk about Triple Mania live after it went off the air, but I didn't even see the polling results go double digits. I said, well, they don't want a Triple Mania post show. Okay, well, you know what? That's all good. It's all good. But I did watch Triple Mania. Watched it earlier today. I thought it was a fantastic event. I love the combination there of Corey Graves, JBL, and Conan. I thought particularly by them adding JBL into the mix, really just between JBL and Corey, that's really all you need. But if you wanted to maybe tap into Conan, have him kind of be in that Professor Mike Tenay role and everything, because he's pretty much been there in AAA almost virtually since day one and all that, then, and I like the way he was utilized, Conan. It was beautiful. I loved it on so many levels. So I need to see more of that team. I thought it was the right balance because remember our criticism that came about from the last AAA show, which was, man, Corey pretty much had to be out there carrying the whole damn thing. As good and insightful as Conan is, he's not quite channeling out that energy. Don't make no mistake about it. Conan has charisma, but as far as that whole commentary goes, not quite. If we need him to be more of that serious, laying down the facts, give you guys some great trivia. Yeah, he can do that, but to be expecting him to talk at great lengths of a time, yeah, he's doing what he's doing on the Keeping It 100 podcast with Disco Inferno on them. Does a pretty good job with all of that, but it's a different kind of energy and aura, just everything in general that you got going on when it comes to the commentary. So I thought by having JBO into the mix, good stuff right there. Quick results on that and some thoughts. First off, anybody that's been a long time listener of mine, you know how much of a big fan I am of Omaz. So for Omaz to finally resurface, and he resurfaced and winning the Copa Bardal Gauntlet match, I thought that was a nice touch. Really, I was keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm just going, yo, you cannot waste this opportunity with Big Omaz. You can't have him return and is essentially going to be seen widespread all throughout social media only for this guy to lose. If you're going to have this guy in here, he's got to win the whole damn thing. And so, to my relief, to see him win the whole damn thing, I jumped up and down. And like I said, longtime listeners know I have been a fan, a big supporter of Omaz for years. I've always been coming up with different ideas on how Omaz could be utilized. Tell me if I'm lying. Just recently, when we were looking at this whole Seth Rollins stable, I put out there repeatedly, yo, if they want to add another guy into the mix, hey, you can do something with Omaz. I even looked at trying to think of another stable that was going on there in WWE. I think I might have even suggested something down in NXT. I don't know if it was a pitch I made for Omaz being added to Tony D'Angelo's crew or whatnot, but I remember even mentioning something along those lines of, yo, if you want, you could maybe do something right here. I know for a fact, I definitely said when it came to the bloodline, if you wanted to do something, particularly with Solo Sokoa and his new bloodline, yo, you could definitely throw Omos in there. So to see WWE continue to do this man sparingly and really making it feel like a big monumental moment in wrestling history in the utilization of Omos. I love it. I need more. And I tell you what, he's coming along. He's coming along. I mean, he has more swagger. That's about him. Just in the bit that I saw of him in this gauntlet match, he progress report for those of you that appreciate it. He has more swagger. He is more loose on his feet, not by much, but definitely much more loose. He is much more in character. I'm loving it. I'm loving the overall presentation of Omaz. It really seems like all the work that he's been doing behind the scenes between Performance Center, Pro Wrestling Noah, and all of that. It seems that all of it, the totality of it, it has been helping him, which is great. Like many of you, of course, that didn't watch Triplemania, you probably saw the clip of him and Microman. Legit. I'm normally not concerned about dwarf wrestlers, challenged height wrestlers, but that was a case where when he kicked the hell out of Microman, that Omaz, I definitely squinched. I jumped up and I just, is he okay? Is he okay? Hey, got some breaking news for you guys. I literally just got a text message from the wifey who says she is now headed home. So she'll be back in just a few minutes. So that's a good relief. That's a good relief. So maybe what I can do is maybe we can get her to do a quick drive by, maybe if she feels up for it, or maybe we could at least have her call into the show and just let y'all know what's going on, or just send me a text message, maybe something that she wants to say personally to you guys, because I know a lot of you guys care about her and all that. But yeah, I love that stuff. Good stuff right there. Meanwhile, Dr. Junior Wagner Jr., that is, defeated El Messias for the AAA Latin American Championship. Solid matchup right there. Meanwhile, Judgment Day, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Raquel Rodriguez picked up a win over Mr. Iguana, Nino Hamburguesa, and Lola Vice. Mixed trios match. Elsewhere, Pagano, Psycho Clown defeated Los Garza in a street fight for the AAA World Tag titles. So we got some new tag team champions there. Good stuff. Meanwhile, Flammer retained the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship over Fabi Apache and Natalia in a triple threat match. And in the main event match, thanks to largely in part some help there by the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, towards the end, Herald del Vikingo retained his AAA Mega Championship in a four-way against Dominic Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and El Grande Americano. It was a solid event. Look, for those of you that maybe want a little bit of spice in your life, a little bit of wrestling variety, if you have not checked out Triplemania, it's free to watch on WWE's YouTube channel. Now, I know some of you guys aren't pushing the YouTube Premium, so you can bypass ads on YouTube in 2025. It's really gotten quite out of hand, if you ask me, by the way. But you owe it to yourselves to definitely watch it. If you can tolerate the ads, or maybe you've got an ad blocker, definitely, or you got the extra coin. You got that extra coin. You can throw it out there for Triple Mania. Go watch it. It was great stuff. Was really proud just from a production value standpoint. The talents, definitely everybody involved on the production side. For sure, the commentary. Corey Graves really been stepping it up. He's really been busting his ass these past couple of months. I tell you what, right down to the point, even going into tonight's WWE RAW, it's the little things that I was appreciating that made me go, not for nothing. Where Corey really shines, when Corey Graves wants to, and he's not just phoning it in. And I'm sure Corey Graves will admit that there's been many times over the years where he has phoned it in. And I wouldn't be surprised if he were to follow up with that and say, well, not for nothing, I started phoning it in because they were spreading me out pretty thin all over the place. I was doing so many projects for WWE that it was just insane. I didn't have time to be me and mentally decompress and enjoy quality time, get away from being the on-screen character all the time and just be me. I'm sure he will admit to that. I'm sure he would. I think any of us would if we were kind of in that situation. Yeah, after a while, we definitely would phone it in. But there's been certain things which, as far as tonight goes, you're reminded this is why we began liking Corey Graves in the first place, because when Corey Graves wants to, Corey Graves knows how to put over a wrestler. Corey Graves knows how to put over an angle. It's not a case where it's all about Corey getting himself over. And as good as Pat McAfee is from a charismatic standpoint, a lot of the time you're hearing McAfee on commentary, it feels more like he's putting himself over, not so much from the standpoint of, oh, I got this happening on my show this week and, oh, I'm getting ready to go fly over. No, that's not what I mean. It comes off a lot of times like Pat is trying too hard to be unintentionally a focal point of the show when his main job is to tell the stories. His main job is to put over the characters. There's only been but just a small handful of times where I go, no, he really did put this cat over, or from a marketing standpoint, he really did contribute and really help get this over. But very few, very few. To my point, there was a match earlier tonight involving Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods was in a singles match. I'm trying to think who the opponent was. It'll come to me in a little bit. But I loved how Corey Graves had said, now that the New Day is out here, I got to be honest with you. Going forward, you may refer to me as Corey Greaves because anytime the New Day is out here, I'm going to be known as Corey Greaves. And you're just going, this is so freaking brilliant. And you could tell tonight was one of those nights where Corey, he's quick with it tonight. He's bringing it tonight because it seemed like after a while, Michael Cole just started going, okay, Corey's got the hot hand right now. Corey's got the hot hand. He's let me just go ahead and just keep feeding him, and he gonna be able to carry us on home. And you could tell Cole was really liking the banter. He was really loving the energy that was coming from Corey. And then at one point, we see Corey Graves. He has a New Day T-shirt, and it's a T-shirt that reads "The New Day Mourns." And I love the style, the font, everything that's going on. I'm looking at that. I'm going, yo, this is hand in hand. Now, this is the type of commentary I can get over. Like seriously, that this is what's up. Corey just seriously, don't stop, Corey. Keep it going, my friend. Please keep it going. That is how you do it. Uh, Penta is who I was thinking about. Penta had took on Xavier Woods. Of course, Xavier Woods looking for the big payback for what happened to his sombrero, his little Mortal Kombat hat from the other week and everything. Penta picking up a victory, 6 minutes, 46 seconds. Uh, Decent match for what it was worth, but it's one of those areas, gray areas, where if you are a New Day fan, you're just looking at them, just trying to figure out what's really going on here, particularly with the New Day. I mean, yeah, that's nice that they're getting a crumb here and there, but man, one of the most dominating, profitable, marketable tag teams in quite some time. The fact that in the Triple H Paul Levesque era led WWE, you're looking at this veteran stable in the New Day, and you're scratching your heads just going, where exactly do they fit in this new Paul Levesque WWE? Where exactly do they fit in this? Because it's really right. And man, I'm just picturing the extremists that maybe want it to be a racial thing. Boy, they've got some ammo, don't they? They've got some serious ammo because you can go over to SmackDown and you can see what's been going on with Street Profits and all that. Like, there's just, with the exception of Naomi, and with the exception of maybe Trick Williams, Obafemi, you're kind of looking, and not my words, not my way of thinking, but you do have those extremists that's out there. I'm not going to feed too much more into that, but it is what it is. Of course, some other action from tonight's show. Io Sky taking on Raquel Rodriguez. Io following up with the Kabuki Warriors yet again here, just when you thought that maybe there was going to be a little bit of a kumbaya moment and everything. All of these personalities are still clashing with one another. Rhea Ripley trying to be the peacemaker here, essentially letting Io know she's got her back, even if Io doesn't want it and everything. Io really appreciating and respecting that. Meanwhile, the Kabuki Warriors giving Rhea a dirty look, almost kind of one of those, why are you meddling in our affairs? This really has nothing to do with you. Ooh, that's going to, I think, play a huge, huge factor with what we're getting ready to talk about next as it ties into Naomi and everything. Io Sky picking up the win over Raquel Rodriguez, 7 minutes and some change. Definitely good match. Nice win here for Io. Definitely keeps her within the talking points as far as being a top contender for the women's championship and everything. And considering The announcement that we had got tonight definitely makes all the sense in the world. I guess we could go ahead and we can go maybe into that announcement. Nah, I'll tease you guys. 'Cause that's so multi-layered. Let's keep on rocking and rolling. Becky Lynch, meanwhile, Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Becky Lynch taking on Natalia. Becky picking up the win via submission. This was maybe about a 5 minute, 6 minute match. Now, look, I know that Natty's been picking up a lot of praise from the community these past couple of months, especially with this new Natty that's running around, this MMA take no prisoners, I'm gonna bleed, bleed for me, Natty. I love it. I love the gimmick, and I'm like many of you, I would love to see that version of Natty pop up in the WWE, but I don't want that version. This is where I and the rest of you all, majority of you all, this is where we diverge, where I feel the Natty character that we're seeing on the independents and all that, I don't want to just see that character pop up in the WWE and it's pretty much it's here to stay. That's not how I'm picturing that character. I am picturing a psychological journey for WWE fans that eventually sees that blood sport, that bloodthirsty Natalia emerge in WWE. You got to do a slow cooker. That is how you do it. You can't just hard 180 1 week. You feel me? So, and I'm sure that Triple H and crew, I'm sure they are just plotting it out, trying to figure out how exactly they can go about it, when they can go about it, and everything. Do I think we're going to ultimately see that version of Natty in the WWE? Make no mistake about it. Yes, for sure. That Natty will definitely surface in the WWE. But don't be holding your breath if you're like, okay, I want to see this character pop up in a month. It's going to take a little bit of time. Like, at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if that character maybe did not surface until a little bit later towards the end of the year to close it out, or first thing, first quarter of 2026. That's just my honest impression. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was expecting a lot more from this match. Given everything that we've been seeing with Natty, like even though we're not getting the access to MMA Bloodsport Natty, I was at least expecting to see, well, look, remember that great match that Natty had down in NXT so many years ago? And, look, when Natty wants to, right? We know what Natty can bring to the table, but when Natty is basically in a situation where she can go out there and she can really, really shine, and it's, yo, we're going to give you about 15, 20 minutes. Go do your thing, sister. And it's not like she didn't have the right opponent, because she did have the right opponent and Becky Lynch. I'm actually surprised that this match really did not go any longer. I'm really surprised that as far as WWE's booking for this particular match, they didn't decide to go, well, you know what? Let's really give the people something to talk about, and let's really give them a really good match here. And it definitely would have played up more to what Natty has been doing outside of WWE. Right down to the point, I would have loved it if Michael Cole and Corey Graves, while they were offering commentary during this match, if maybe they could have brought up, hey, we know Natty, she loves the WWE universe. She really cares about the fans, and she's always trying to be a big sister to other people. But, let's not kid around here. Let's not kid the folks. We've seen a more meaner, violent, uh, darker Natty that's been running around outside of the WWE. Hey, do you think that's something that maybe could kind of backfire here at some point during this match? Do you think Natty might be shortchanging herself here by not really tapping into that in this championship match opportunity against Becky Lynch. That really would have been a really good narrative that you could have. But the only thing that I can kind of picture as far as and justify why the commentators weren't allowed to go in that direction, it could be from a creative perspective of how would exactly this fit in our universe. How long could we try to make this work? It's like how so many people want to see before John Cena retires, they want to see his Peacemaker character pop up in the WWE. And John Cena has already said it in a couple of interviews. Yo, there is just no way that that character can just randomly pop up and we have a match with that character. Like, that's not how it works. Not to mention, that is a Warner Brothers DC Comics IP. And so there's, from a legality standpoint, there's so many hurdles that need to be jumped over in order. But then even at that, it has to not only make sense to Warner Brothers, DC Comics, it's also got to make a lot of sense to WWE, right? So kind of one of those things. But, you know, decent. Really wish that we would have been able to see Natty shine a little bit more in this matchup, but it is what it is. Hey, have you guys been enjoying yourself so far? If you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor and make sure you hit that like button. You hear the girls barking in the background. That's because mommy is home. So that's my cue to shut this door real quick. Boy, I tell you, when they hear mommy, they let loose. Let me tell you, they let loose. All right, so let me shut this door. I can even hear the dogs at the next house over barking. That's how sensitive the hearing is around here, man. It's crazy. Anyway, let's keep rocking and rolling here. Talk some more stuff that's going on here. Judgment Day were in action as we had Finn Balor and JD McDonough take on Dragon Lee and Mr. Iguana. Judgment Day picking up the win. Kind of, where were the puppets? I needed more puppet action here, man. We do all the crazy stuff with the puppets at Triplemania over the weekend. If there was ever an opportunity to finish up here, like so tag match though, so tag match. It seems that the real story with Judgment Day is Dominic Mysterio and whatever moves he is making behind the scenes without exactly consulting Finn Balor. We are continuing to see this slow cooker of storytelling with the Judgment Day. That's one of the main good things about watching WWE RAW each and every single week is continuing to get these breadcrumbs of storytelling with the Judgment Day. It would seem that just as Finn Balor finally is in a position where he thinks that Judgment Day is now his for the taking, it can essentially act as a conduit to his dreams and ambitions and championship aspirations. It seems that now it's a case where, well, wait a minute, not so fast, because Dominic Mysterio is doing some stuff behind the scenes, and it really makes you wonder in this game of chess, is Dominic Mysterio a couple of moves ahead? Or is Dominic in a position where, because you can make another argument. You can make an argument if Dominic Mysterio is not in a position where he's a couple of moves ahead, and ultimately we're going to see Finn Balor get kicked out of the Judgment Day, then is it possible that when things finally come ahead, that Balor is actually the one that turns on Dom? And because you just know Dominic Mysterio as a face, it is right there for the taking. I know Dom had said in a recent interview that he's not looking forward to the day, basically. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he said he ain't looking forward to the day when he turns face. He loves what he's been doing as a heel. I say, yo, if it's banging, it's clicking on all cylinders, continue to lean into it for as long as humanly possible. Best incarnation of Dominic Mysterio yet and everything. But man, if you can catch more flies with honey as a babyface, if there's more money to be made as a babyface, and it makes all the sense in the world, you definitely gotta explore that option. You definitely got to. It's also possible from a storyline standpoint that maybe Dominic Mysterio is taking his cues from Liv Morgan. This can go in so many directions. That's the whole point that I'm bringing up with this continuation of as the Judgment Day turns, right? Your soaps, you kind of get that one and everything. I know later on during the night, as Judgment Day was getting ready to make their exit, they ran into Dominic Mysterio talking with Ludwig Kaiser, aka El Grande Americano. Balor wanting to know what that was all about, and Dom saying to him, yo, I'm just making sure that as far as a insurance policy goes in favor of Judgment Day, we're covered. Don't worry about it. Come on, let's go. Balor hanged back a little bit as everybody else headed to the car, not really feeling. So, we've seen this paranoia with Balor at so many times. And when you think about all the people that have been involved with the Judgment Day, the one thing that has always been consistent is Finn Balor essentially going, no, this needs to be allegedly about us. Edge, we saw how that how that ended, right? Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, we pretty much seen how that ended. Liv Morgan, I mean, probably the best thing to happen there for Balor is the fact that Liv got injured, and we see just how giddy like a little schoolboy that he's been with that and everything. So very, very telling. Like when you really take a step back, you can really appreciate. Now that I've brought up all these points, and you're really taking a step back, if you never really, I'll buy that. As far as the Judgment Day story arc, you never really cared for it in previous months. Now that I kind of laid all that out, you got to admit, yeah, that actually has been one of the brighter spots in WWE. It's about really the only thing of a few couple of things that, very small couple of things at that, that WWE is able to do pretty well. So, besides all that, we can talk about the main event match in just a hot little bit. Naomi and her announcement. What exactly was going on? Look, I know that there was a lot of rumors from last week. I know myself. I said, yo, not sure what was going on with Naomi. Like, white hot story there. She was supposed to have a match against Io Sky for the championship. Yo, what the hell? For me personally, I didn't think there was a Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar situation. It's not going to work for me, brother. I didn't think anything along those lines. If you want my honest thoughts, I didn't even think pregnancy. I know so many people on social media, they were like, Naomi. I wasn't even in that direction. What I honestly said to myself was, well, a lot can happen in the span of a week. Maybe she caught a cold. Maybe she came down with a fever. Maybe she, I don't know, took a weird fall down the stairs. Maybe something happened to a close friend of the family. Hell, maybe something had happened with a family member. And she just, unfortunately, she wasn't available that respected week. That's how I chalked it up. If you notice and you go back to the show that we did last Monday, I didn't bother to speculate. If anything, I said, hey, hopefully whatever is going on, hopefully everything is good, and maybe we'll know a little bit more, maybe come next week or whatnot. But I honestly, you go back to that show, I pretty much, I'm not concerned. Everything's good. Then, everybody else being, well, Prego. She's got to be Prego. It's got to be the Prego. It's got to be. What else could it be? Didn't really see anybody jump out there and say, do you think it's maybe a wellness policy violation? Do you think it's possible she might have gotten in trouble, DUI or whatnot? Because we know how the Usos get down. We know how they like to get down. But no, none of that. None of that controversial, tabooish type of stuff had went down. Right before Naomi came out for her segment, we get this little Stephanie McMahon podcast plug. And not for nothing, the podcast that Stephanie did with Naomi and Jim Uso from last week, that was pretty good. I definitely recommend you guys go out of your way and check it out. So they show a new clip where Michael Cole is saying, hey, immediately after Raw goes off the air, check out a new Stephanie, What's Your Story podcast, as she's going to be talking with this special guest. And they show Jimmy and Naomi. And you're going, oh. Before anything else had happened, I said, shit, she's pregnant. Not in a bad way. I just said, shit, she's pregnant. And I just wish that the cross promoting from a marketing standpoint there, I wish it didn't get fed to Stephanie and for her podcast. I really wish it could have been a case where Naomi could have just pretty much. But I get it. I get how WWE wants to try to operate with their talents and everything. It's always, we got to feed the beast. We got to feed the beast. The beast being the social media machine. They got to feed those outlets, right? So I may not like it, but I definitely understand the hustle. I get the game when it's all said and done. But I really wish that what would have actually happened instead was, rather than show that Stephanie McMahon thing, then eventually transition to Naomi after a commercial break. I wish we could have actually just taken the commercial break, come back, Naomi gets in the ring, shows an exclusive little joint, then she can, and it's revealed, and then Naomi can be like, da 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 da, yep, I'm pregnant. Then you have Michael Cole going ahead and plug the hell out of that Stephanie McMahon podcast and everything. But yeah, Naomi is pregnant. Her and Jimmy Uso, they are expecting. And look, as she was sharing the news, honestly, for me, I had nothing but the biggest smile on my face. And I still have. I'm very happy for them. I'm proud for them. I know that this is something that Naomi, we don't really talk about it much here. We have not talked about it much here on the show because it's a little bit of a sensitive subject. Not for me, but just I look at it as a sensitive subject because, obviously you can go back over the years. There's been previous interviews where Naomi has definitely entertained being a mom, but also juggling at the same time, wanting to be at a certain place in her career where, hey, look, I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. I am still trying to become the apex. I'm still trying to reach that pinnacle point of my career. And yeah, once I'm definitely at that level and have sustained for a long period of time and really starting to wind down, then yeah, sure. Then I'll start thinking about kids, no doubt. So, but it's definitely been something, even when you go as far back as the Total Divas show and all that, it's definitely an area that Naomi and Jim have brought up in the past. So to know that they are now with child, you know, I'm happy. Legit, I'm happy, and I want to just take it a step further. You know, for some families, and I know I can speak definitely for myself, and I'm sure Tams won't mind me sharing this. I know that me and Tams, we should have conceived a long time ago. We should have conceived the child a long, long time ago. And it's funny. I so many thoughts in my head because I'm in a thousand directions. It's all related to this, but I'll never forget when Mish and his brother came up, and special shout out to them. I remember when they came up, and we had a great time. Mish from Wrestling Soup, great time. Love those guys. I mean, awesome hanging out with them. Went out to dinner and everything. At one point, we were walking down Georgetown, and somehow the subject of kids came up. And Mish's brother said, "Do y'all have kids?" And I remember me and Tams, we said, "No." And the brother looked at me and he goes, "What's wrong with you?" And Mish was like, "Dude." And I gotta say that stung a little bit. It stung a little bit because no, there's nothing wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with Tams. Honestly, we didn't like where we were career wise, mainly with me. And and I said to Tams long, and she'll tell you, like, I don't want to bring a child into this world that I'm still trying to figure myself out. I'm trying to figure out my career path. And I mean, Tams would have told you, if you would have been dealing with the Lee from 15 years ago, completely different person. No direction, no, none of that. Now, if you're talking to the Lee of today and you're like, fatherhood, how about it? I'd go, oh, yeah, with where I'm at now, yeah, sure, I can definitely. But 15 years ago, oh, hell no. Hell no. So, and I'm this close to being where I want to be career wise with all the work that I've been doing, of which many of you longtime listeners, so we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. If Tams were to say to me tomorrow or next week, hey Lee, looks like that one time you gave me a hot one that did the trick, because understand something, the older that our lovely ladies get, especially women that are in their late 30s going into their 40s, the more challenging it can be to get pregnant. That's the truth. That is the honest truth. So to hear that Naomi is expecting child, and just to know definitely how much that means to her, and all of that. Like I said, when I say to you, I'm happy for her. I'm happy for Jim Uso. It's sincere. Cause yeah, yeah, Cause I mean, for me, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of many other people that maybe have been trying, or they're just not quite at that point where they're at right now, where they can afford to start having children, right? And before you hit me with, oh, well, whether you got the money or not, if you want it, and she wants it, then you should. The last thing you want to do, the last thing you want to do, and any parent will tell you this, the last thing that you want to do is bring a child into this world. And when it's all said and done, you don't have the financial resources to, because it's one thing if you as a couple are trying to do what you can to get by, right? And you're just doing it kind of comfortably, or just enough, right? Might be a paycheck behind from having issues, but you're okay. But now when you throw a kid into the mix, a lot of people don't understand all the money that goes into that child for the next 18 years, but definitely those first 10 years, which is critical, especially as far as that child's development and all that. Yeah. So, Naomi, and I love some of the one liners that she had in there and everything, talking about how Big Jim likes his Netflix and chill, basically. How they like to get down, right? Right. So now you got to proceed with caution because there's a baby on board and everything. Naomi said she'll be back in 9 months, and whoever has that championship, she's going to be coming for them. So I love the way Naomi had handled this. It was a really good segment. Really proud with everybody involved and how this was handled with great care, definitely with great respect. And I also love the fact that on this same episode, so much respect was put on it from the standpoint of, well, what about the future of this championship? What does it mean going forward? I love the fact that those answers were not tackled on this same episode. Now, Corey Graves and Michael Cole, they did say, hey, would imagine that as far as that championship, now that it's been relinquished, we're probably going to learn a lot more about it on next week's Raw, what that means for Stephanie the Care. Because remember, she's supposed to get a shot at Clash in Paris. Okay, great. That's all you need. That's all you need to say. Say less. I love that. It was a nice touch, nice, classy move all the way around. So let's talk about that. Look, obviously, you got Stephanie the Care. And some could make the argument, look, it's definitely her time on a silver platter. Because if you're not going to pull the trigger and you're not going to go with Stephanie the Care, then what potential other direction could you go in? I tell you what, you got everything that's been going on with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. WWE's in a very unique position here. You could either go in a triple threat type situation, and you could essentially have the Kabuki Warriors maybe end up turning their back officially on Io. Okay, you don't want to have anything to do with us. You want to go befriend these people over here and Rhea Ripley and all this. Okay, well, you want to leave us? You can leave, but it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you that women's championship. And then you want to have Io essentially feud with those girls. I'd be down with that if that's the direction that you want to take. I would totally be down with that, especially if it's spun in a way where at Clash in Paris, Io, The Care, Ripley, triple threat, figure out who's going to be the women's champion, if you want to do it that way. If you want to go the more traditional route and say, well, look, Io has punched in her ticket, she should definitely stay locked in place. And if anything, her opponent needs to be figured out for Clash in Paris, then you can definitely look at Rhea. You can definitely look at Io, and you could go, and you could even look at Becky Lynch too, to a certain degree. You could even look at Becky Lynch. Honestly, I think there's gonna probably highly likely be some type of a, I don't know, maybe a beat the clock challenge. I haven't seen one of those in a good minute. I'm kind of tired of these gauntlet matches. I don't know about you. I'd love to see a beat the clock challenge. Why not bring that back? WWE, bring back the beat the clock challenge, and whoever has the best record, they're declared the winner. They will face Stephanie Vakir for the vacant women's championship. One thing is guaranteed: we will get a new women's champion at Clash in Paris. So you got a couple of nice little options. Because see, here's the thing. Here's my only pushback on the whole, we'll do a triple threat. Remember, each time we've seen Io and Rhea go at it, there's always been some type of weird interference and everything. So do we really want to do that again at Clash in Paris? And if we are going to essentially do that again, and thus definitively we still don't have that, okay, no interference here, Rhea, Io, who's the better woman? Like, let's really, yeah, sure, Io has had Rhea's number every single time, but when you look at all of the shenanigans that's been happening in the mix, where Rhea is just this close and yet she comes up so short, I'm not really sure if the Kabuki Warriors should be put in there, not unless you do this triple threat match, and rather than the Kabuki Warriors turn on just Io, maybe they also lay out Rhea as well. There's a couple of really fun little twists and turns that you can do. I definitely still feel that no matter what, we're gonna get a new women's champion, but it's just a matter of how much of an impact will the Kabuki Warriors play on that whole finish and everything. But WWE's got some real slim pickings because, see, by losing Naomi, you had a really damn good character that showed us in the brief little bit of time that we got her on Monday Night Raw. Man, did she intertwine so well with so many characters. She really did when you stop and think about it. So, instant Acme feuds just, Naomi minding her own business just comes across somebody and she just starts talking hot trash. Boom, instant Acme feud. So, you need a strong character that can definitely. Now, look, Stephanie Vakir, great wrestler, very attractive. God, very attractive. Great look, overall presentation. Just, but you definitely need somebody that's going to be out there that's going to talk their ass off. You definitely need a talker. And I mean, we've seen from Triple H whether you can really talk good English or not. Triple H is going to give you that shot. So I still feel Stephanie Vakir is a really, really damn good choice. But if you wanted to switch it up a little bit and you wanted to maybe go in a different direction, right? Just looking at the current landscape of what we got going on right now. I don't know, man. I think a lot of people might be sleeping on Roxanne Perez because if you were to tell me a week from now Roxanne Perez is somehow going to be in that whole beat the clock challenge, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that one. Feel free to sound off, but some interesting, some interesting stuff, some interesting directions that WWE can go. Overall, though, for this week's WWE Raw, oh, we got one more match to talk about. I almost forgot. Forgive me there, guys. We got one more match to talk about. The last match that we got to talk about is the Extreme Rules match between Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. Honorable mention, by the way, CM Punk trying to play kumbaya with LA Knight and Jey Uso. They really were not having it, though. These guys were mainly focused on Clash in Paris, where basically, every man's gonna be for himself. And Punk realizes that and he's trying to tell them, I get you, I hear you, but we gotta have a united front here when it comes to Seth Rollins and the Vision. Can we like maybe try to put our differences to the side and be a allied force here? And it just really seemed like the guys weren't really trying to hear that. So, Extreme Rules match, Jey Uso, Braun Breaker. Somehow, in the mix of all of this, Sheamus and Rusev once again locked up backstage. Now that I'm thinking about it, those guys were brawling again with one another. I think at this point, we need to see these guys at Clash already. Make that match happen. Let's go. Jey Uso picking up the win. Hey, good way to close out this WWE Raw event from Philly by pretty much paying homage to ECW, good old hardcore wrestling, New Jack, for that matter. This was a nice, good clusterfuck of a street fight. So many run-ins though. That's the one thing I did not like about this main event match. There was so many damn run-ins. And I never found myself being more irritated with hearing a wrestler's theme song. Just feel me for a second. Feel me for a second. Great theme songs, but just feel me for a second. Okay, you're beating the crap out of your opponent, and the next thing you know, like, okay, granted, when Bronson Reed popped up, he didn't get no music. Okay, great touch. So anybody is anybody that can show up and interfere in this match. Okay, I'm down with that. Seth Rollins. Okay, no music playing for him. He's just, okay, cool, cool. But then we got to play music for LA Knight. Then we got to play music for CM Punk. Then we got to play music for Roman Reigns. I didn't personally care for all of that because if I'm Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker and I'm hearing the music, I'm literally going, yeah, I'm out. And to WWE's credit, not for nothing, when Braun Breaker heard the Roman Reigns music, he thought about it. He was waiting to see where Roman was, and then he said, "Yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm just gonna go on ahead and not for nothing. Nice little fine attention to detail. WWE, whoever the producers were, they made sure to not have Roman Reigns enter from the gorilla position onto the stage. They made sure that when Braun Breaker just said, ah, F it, and Braun turned around, he tried to go for the exit. They made sure that Roman Reigns was pretty much behind him, running in there with a spear. That was a nice touch, but we don't always need to do the silliness in there with the run-ins and the entrance themes playing and all that. Yeah, this just felt like a big old. You know what it reminded me of, and I haven't used this analogy in a long time, but it reminded me of the very end of a typical episode of the Benny Hill Show, and everybody is just chasing after one another at the very end. That's how this kind of seemed to me, and everything. But yeah, I honestly could have done without that. But big Roman Reigns, the old TC one, coming in there, helping clean and house, helping Jey Uso pick up the W and everything. Reigns telling Big Bronson Reed he'll see him in Paris. Bronson Reed saying, "Yo, it is what it is," and them shoes look good you wearing tonight. If I want those, I can have them. Roman welcoming him into the ring, but Paul Heyman holding him off, but looks like that's another match that's going to be added to the Clash. I'm definitely down with that. Solid episode. Definitely had a nice little bit of Philly flavor. No, I did not forget about Nikki Bella, by the way. Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch. I forgive me for going back. I almost had a brain fart. This is how the show works. Just whatever's on my mind there. But remember Becky Lynch retaining that women's Intercontinental Championship. Post match, continued to beat the living hell out of Natty. Even beat up on Maxine Dupree. This forced Nikki Bella to come out. Two of them brawled for a little bit. Nikki ends up hitting the Rack Attack 2.0, lays out Becky, pretty much puts that nice, pretty little ribbon on that and everything. There's something else that I was thinking about in regards to Raw tonight. Besides the fact that next week Raw is going to be on at a special start time of 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. That is, if you're out here on the East West Coast in the United States. That's because Raw is going to be coming to us live from England next week. I forgot the city, but live. So for those of you that maybe want to set a reminder on your phone or whatnot, definitely the time to do that. Yeah, there's something else that I was thinking about from Raw, but I can't quite. I know I covered all the points, but there's something that is missing that I can't quite jog my memory on. You guys gotta forgive me. Maybe it'll pop up in the next minute or two as we move on. But it was definitely a decent episode of Raw, but definitely at the same time some glaring issues that still you're just going through the motions when it's all said and done. Now, as far as the matches themselves go for this week, honestly, looking back on the card, the one match that really, really stood out for me that I enjoyed, I got to give it up to Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. And that's despite the fact that you had all those run-ins and stuff at the end. I wish they could have gone just a little bit more hardcore, but it's all good. And I'll also give an honorable mention to EO and Raquel Rodriguez. I'll give a little bit of an honorable mention to them. That was pretty decent for what it was worth as well. But a bit of a below average episode for me. I mean, it definitely would have been much lower in my book without that good feel moment there from Naomi. Let's see how you guys had voted via Twitter at the RCWR show. I refuse to call it X. Let's see what you guys had to say here. Looking at the polling results. All right, so right now, 25% of you are giving this week's Monday Night Raw from Philly a thumbs down, while 75% of you are giving it a thumbs up. Just sent Tams a text message, so I'm waiting to see what I can relay to you and everybody else. Give me a second here. Do 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 do. And while I'm texting her, one thing I do want to share with you guys as we get ready to dive into a couple of headlines, I want to take a quick pause. So, if you have not already, poke your head on the YouTube channel. Head over to the post section, right? YouTube.com/, the RCWR show. And when you click that respected tab I mentioned, you're going to see our latest poll. If you have not voted yet, go vote. I appreciate everybody that's voted so far. So let me set this up for you guys properly. So me and Tams were doing an episode of Wrestling with the Topics on Sunday. It's a really great show. We ended up doing about almost a 3-hour show. And there was a lot of ground that we covered in the first 38 minutes. We really, for those of you that are in the DC metropolitan region, or you got family and friends, or maybe you just want to hear directly from us and how we've been adapting to all this craziness that's been going on with the president and his administration of taking over DC, it was a nice discussion and everything. We had this one listener that had popped up, and I was telling a friend of mine about this, and my friend had said, so wait a minute, this person isn't even a subscriber. I said no. So basically they did a drive-by insult comment, and like that was really the only thing that they could say. I'm like, yeah, whatever, squash that noise, like forget about them. But we had somebody that did a drive-by in the chat, and they were like, oh, all you do is repeat, agree, repeat the same thing again. And me and Tams, and you could hear our reaction to it in real time. We were like, what are you talking about? Like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't recall repeating anything. Did you repeat something? And the only thing that I could maybe think of that is maybe what the person had meant, maybe they didn't like the fact that there was a lot of saying something twice. You feel me? Saying something twice. You feel me? And I happen to be one of those type of people. First of all, when it comes to wrestling with the topics, anybody that's truly familiar with the show and has been listening to it for a long time knows that the way that show operates, that show compared to this show, the RCWR show, it's night and day. It's a big difference. With the RCWR show, it is more, okay, we're getting Lee the professional, still pretty loose with us, but we're getting Lee the personality. We're getting Lee the podcaster. We're getting Lee the guy that just got his degree in media production. Lee the guy that's trying to get his degree in journalism. That's the Lee that you get on the Monday shows, and then whenever we do a post show covering Raw Fallout and all that. The Lee that you get on Wrestling with the Topics, that is more, okay, you're getting Lee pretty much away from the shows. Now you're really just getting lost in conversation with Lee. Just strip away. Now you're just getting down to the nitty gritty. And I think for that particular listener, he wasn't really, or they weren't really a fan of that type of style. But I know for me, if you get me in a situation where I am running on fumes and I have not had any sleep, which definitely was the case when I did the show with Tams on Sunday, and yet somehow I was still able to bring the energy and all that. But if you get me in a position where I have not slept and I'm running on fumes, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably gonna repeat something a couple of times. But that's the thing. We listened back to the first 38 minutes of that show. There was nothing that was repeat, say it again, repeat. No, if anything, it was just, I'm going to go take out the trash. I'm going to go take out the trash. Like little nuances like that. I would rather do that rather than go, um, uh, I'd rather, okay. So we got done with the show and Tabs put out we had a really good conversation. She goes, we can't keep doing these 3 hour shows. I said, I said, not for nothing. Cause she goes, we should just go over just a handful of topics and that's it. And I told her, I said, babe, the way this show been operating, all we're doing is a couple of topics and it's so multi-layered that we're loose with it. And she's like, well, maybe we need to have a more tighter schedule or whatnot. She goes, tell you what, why don't you put a poll out there and let's see how folks feel about the show? Like, you got to get a better gauge on what's going to happen with the show going forward anyway, because once you start your fall semester, with your new transfer and all that, like, you're not really going to have the time to be doing 3 hour shows and all that. So poll the guys, see what's going on. That's how that poll was created on YouTube. So, for those of you that haven't seen it yet, interesting results so far. We've got 5% of you so far that said, if anything, make the show even more polished, professional. Warms my heart to see that those of you that did not really vote for that, you really understand what wrestling with the topics is all about, right? It's just, you're listening to Lee and Tam's husband, wife, a couple, and we're just, it's crazy world. Like, you guys get it. That's great. We got a tie at 10%. Half of you are saying keep it the way it is. However long it goes, it goes. You're the hardcore fan. Appreciate you. The other half of you are saying cover just 3 to 4 topics per episode. I can understand why not that many people went in that direction, because that's like, wait, that's it? But there's like so much more that you guys could talk about. 75% of the votes coming in so far make wrestling with the topics a strict 90-minute show. I think that's very reasonable. I think that's something that we can definitely work more towards going forward. So, Tams has not said anything back yet. So let me see if she's gonna pick up the phone here. If she's even near the phone. Well, I mean, the fact that she's home, that's good. That's definitely a good thing. Knowing her, she is probably knocked out. Yeah, she should have picked up by now. Yeah, she's probably knocked out. So, last thing, for those of you that's just tuning in, lab work was done, EKG done, another chest X-ray done. She said she was waiting to go back, I guess, to speak to the doctor, and then she followed up about maybe 15, 20 minutes after that, said she was headed home. So I heard her come in a long time ago. That's why, if you've been with me this long, that's why the dogs were barking earlier, because they heard her come in and everything. All right, let's get into some other headlines. By the way, did you guys see the image that's floating around? If you have not, there's a really fun image that's floating around of Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. They look like maybe they were out on vacation or just enjoying themselves. And I'm looking at Triple H. I'm going, yo, for a guy that has gone through what he has gone through, that's a great body that he has. Like, everybody should be striving to kind of look like that as they get older and everything. He's held up pretty well. Stephanie looks pretty good as well. But the main piece of the story, the main story here, is the fact that the shorts Triple H is wearing, he's been pushing those shorts for a good minute now. Almost close to 20 years. He's been pushing these swim trunks. And look, I ain't gonna hate the brother, because my friends and family will tell you, and I am still proud of that jacket. I remember one of the first paychecks I ever got. It was when I was working during the summer, back around 1998, 1999. I had got one of my first official jobs. I was always doing side hustle work, but this was really one of the first opportunities where, hey, I'm getting a regular, steady paycheck and it's got my name on it. I had hooked up with the Summer Works program. And for those of you that's not aware of it, and but maybe you have something similar in your respected city and all that. Basically, every single year during the summer here in DC, you were able to get into this program that originated from the late Marion Barry. And he thought it would be really good to have some type of a internship like program where the youths are able to come in for about roughly 12 to 16 weeks, learn a really cool skill or two, and maybe in the process try to find their passion. And if it just so happens that's it, then okay, now they've got a foundation and they just got to build from there. So I had a internship for like 6 weeks working at the mayor's office. I worked in the Office of Policy and Evaluation Division, which had a lot to do with gathering stats and all that. Kind of funny now when you think about a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on the show and how I eventually dipped into market research for 10 years and all that. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, one of the first paychecks I had got, and this loops back to Triple H and all that. Don't think I lost focus of that because it loops right back to Triple H and his shorts for the past 20 something years. First paychecks I got from the Summer Works program. I went to this really cool store out in Georgetown that last I checked is still there to this very day. That's just insane. Anyway, I used to go past this store whenever I was heading to Time Out, local arcade joint, or I was going to the comic book store, Closet of Comics. They had two locations in Georgetown. They had this one location where they were inside this three, maybe four level brick house townhome. And then they eventually moved about 3 blocks, still in Georgetown, but they moved over. They were right before you hit the Barnes and Noble store, for those of you that know the area pretty good. So on my way, I would always go past this leather jacket store. All these guys sold was leather jackets for men, women. They sold designer sunglasses, all that stuff. And I remember I always loved the smell of the jackets. And whenever I would walk in there, I always admired the jackets. You know, it's like, man, one day I'm going to get me a leather jacket. Like one day I'm going to get me a leather jacket. 'Cause I want to look so cool. You know, like I'm going to have all my friends talking because it's going to be real leather. Not pleather, right? It's real leather. First paycheck I got from the Summer Works program. Right after I cashed that joint, first thing I did, I went to that leather jacket place and found the jacket that I wanted. I think I dropped like about back then. I think I dropped probably, and that was really expensive back then. Anybody will tell you. I paid at least, man, I must have paid at least 80 to a little bit over $100 for my leather jacket. And don't you know, I still have that jacket to this very day. Right down to the point, I'll never forget. I'll never forget. It was about, oh my God. So that jacket I bought in like 98, 99. And I remember at some point in 2008 or 9, I remember my pretend sister, she says to me one day, 'cause she hadn't seen me in a while. I think it was like a couple of years or whatever. But she sees me because we all met up for something and I had my leather jacket. She goes, "You're still pushing that shit?" I go, "It's a nice leather jacket." She goes, You've had it since high school. I'm like, it's a really nice jacket. And then, and then when I met Tams, if I'm not mistaken, unless Tams remembers it differently, that was the jacket I wore on our first date. But even Tams has like I think she said it maybe about 3 years ago. She goes, "Don't you think it's time for a new jacket?" I go, "But I've had this jacket since high school." And she goes, "That's the whole point." I go, "But it's a damn good jacket." You know what she did? Her little slick ass. You know what she did? She ended up getting me a newer leather jacket, which I love. And then she ultimately got me a Undertaker style leather jacket. I think she got me that last year or the no, she got me that the year before last. And it's rare I bust those out. Now, for those of you that's curious, okay, those are nice jackets, Lee. But do you still have the jacket from high school? I still have the jacket from high school. So Triple H, Paul Levesque, I know where you're coming from, brother. When you find something that you really like, you don't really want to let it go. Let me tell you, you want to do everything in your power to keep it. Hey, I shared the news a couple of days ago, almost a week ago, but man, rest in peace to 70s and 80s star Dr. Danielle Spencer. You know, she rose to fame on the hit 1970s series What's Happening. She played Dee, and I loved her character, man. Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama. Oh my God, I love Dee so much, man. I was not really a fan of the reboot. You know, I tried my best to get into it, but it just was not the same. Everything that had worked with the original, it was lost. You know, that's based off of Cooley High, the movie, right? Y'all that know your movies, you do know that, right? That What's Happening is based off of that. Fun little trivia for you guys, especially when you know considering how dark and heavy Cooley High ended up being and everything. But yeah, she passed away. Apparently, cancer had took her out relatively young. She passed away at the age of 60. So that was oof to hear that news. That was cancer sucks. What can I say? Cancer freaking sucks. Also, I see we lost that actor, General Zod. Kneel! You will kneel before Zod. I literally was watching the first two Superman movies with Christopher Reeve literally days ago. I just happened to find myself to be wide awake, and I was like, I need something to watch, and I turned on Max, and it was either Prime Video or Max. I can't remember which one it was, but I said, "Yo, I need something to watch," and I ended up watching the first two Superman movies, and I mean, that General Zod so freaking iconic, man. Like forget about it. I mean, you think about the memes and just everything that has come about with that character. One of the best interpretations of General Zod, man. No doubt about it. Rest in peace. What was his name? If you give me a second, because I definitely want to make sure I give him the proper respect. I'll just say General Zod, and I guarantee you, I'll find out the name of the actor. Sound I knew his last name was Stamp. I just wasn't sure what his first name was, but Terrence Stamp. Yeah, passed away at the age of 87. You know, well-known British actor. Definitely a lot of really good roles leading up to Superman, and then even afterwards. You know, he acted, I think, right up until about 2020 or 2021. So even right on up to like almost the very end, he was still very active when it was all said and done. So that's what's up. That's how you basically do it. Hey, one thing out of Triplemania, I didn't want to get into it earlier because I didn't want to get too into the weeds and all that. Because once I get started, I can't stop myself. But the Beast Mortos took issue, or at least that's how it came off, took issue with the fact that at Triplemania we had this character that was part of the whole gauntlet match that Omos won, character by the name of Taurus. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I looked at Taurus and I said, "That's not Taurus. That's the Beast Mortos. What are you talking about?" And I swore all up and down that was the Beast Mortos. And then it turns out it wasn't him. And I'm going, woo. And so we see this post that comes out from the Beast Mortos, who basically says, get ready for a lawsuit. And you're going, his own tweet, preparing the lawsuit, see you in court. And that instantly got a lot of people talking and wondering, well, shit, what the hell, WWE? Like, well, and then apparently the Beast Mortos clarified his statements, saying that the post wasn't about the wrestling gear or Taurus at all. He clarified that the lawsuit he referred to was a real legal case involving domestic violence unrelated to the wrestling world. Yeah, but the timing of it, when it's all said and done, the timing of that post, you're looking at that and you're going, I don't really know about that one, dude. Like, seriously. And right down to the point, for those of you that's like, lead, like, it's probably nothing. Like seriously, like what's going on here? So on August the 17th, 2025 at 11 a.m., that's when he tried to do damage control and everything. Now remember that Triple Mania show was on Saturday and it came on at 9 p.m. at night. So when he put out preparing the lawsuit, see you in court, okay, he posts that at 8:03 a.m. August the 17th. So this is literally, I'm sure he understands why people are going, what the hell? I mean, he can say this is funny and all that all he wants, right? He and that's his right. He can post whatever he wants to post on his social media. But he has to understand from an optic standpoint, well, not for nothing, it's not even like 12 hours later and you're posting this after that character appeared in the gauntlet. And this is the other thing that I don't understand. If this has to do with a real case and it has to do with domestic violence and all that other stuff, this is what I don't understand. Why make the announcement on social media? Why not just internally handle your business and do what you need to do? I am so sick and tired. I don't know about you all, but I'm getting so sick and tired of hearing about athletes, celebrities, entertainers that's going to social media. Oh, I went to the most beautiful funeral today for a friend of the family. So sad that they died, but the funeral was so gorgeous, and I don't need to know that. Nobody needs to. We're good. Just handle your business. Really, we're some people are just too out in the open on social media for my personal taste. That's just me. To each its own. But for me, I don't need to know all that. Like I remember when Hogan had died and they did the funeral for him. I'm not going to mention the wrestlers, but there were people, because I don't want them getting all caught up in their feelings, mind you. But you could do a little bit of homework on your own and you'll be able to figure out who I'm talking about. But there were some people that went to this funeral for Hulk Hogan. Oh, such a lovely service for the Hulkster. So glad to have attended. Or, Wait, you're glad that you attended somebody's funeral? What the fuck, man? Or the worst thing, people actually snuck in selfies of themselves at Hogan's funeral and were posting it on social media. Who does that? Who the fuck does that? Like, no, you don't need to do that. You can just, hey guys, I'm gonna not be on social media for a couple of hours. I am attending the Hulkster's funeral. I gotta tell you, just from what I'm seeing, what a what a great turnout for the Hulkster. I think he'd be quite pleased. I think he'd be quite happy. Chat with you guys in a couple of hours. Like, if you maybe want to say something like that, okay. Even at that, I don't care for that. Just go handle your business. So if you got a domestic abuse spat that's going on, gee, I don't know. You don't need to broadcast that. Just go quietly handle your business, right? Speaking of quietly handling your business, I am like many of you at the end of the day. When I'm not doing the shows, I love making my rounds, seeing what some of my contemporaries are saying. I told you guys, I think if it wasn't here on Wrestling with the Topics from the weekend, might have been one of the other shows, but I remember saying something to you guys. I can't wait to hear Jim Cornette and what all had went down with Travis Heckle, his longtime artist, the thumbnails, the YouTube thumbnails, mighty fine YouTube thumbnails. And I know a lot of people are going, oh, that ain't nothing. He basically jacked from South Park and he basically used AI. And no, don't shortchange the young man like that, because I've heard him do a couple of interviews where he talks about the whole process that he does and everything, and has done for years, and it's quite a process, and as somebody that's definitely into the arts, that's an artist themselves. I draw, I paint. I respect just how this guy with the thumbnails, man. It's always fun for me. I am sure, like many of you all, is when you go on YouTube, because most people are checking out the YouTube clips for Cornette as opposed to the whole show. A lot of people are just, I'll wait for the clips. I just want to get right. And then you got some people that just do both. They'll actually juggle both. But for me, the greatest joy that I would always have in checking out Jim Cornette's YouTube channel is seeing the thumbnails and then going, now how the hell does this make sense, Travis? Because it's always a riddle, right? And you're trying to understand how they got to that point of the thumbnail that, that's it. That's what's going to sell. And yeah, and I told you guys, I said I did not want to speculate. I saw the stuff that was being put out there, but I wanted to hear officially what was going on there, straight from Cornette's mouth, and he did reveal what all had went down. And if you haven't checked it out yet, there's a clip right now available on the channel. It runs about almost 40 minutes. It's a black screen, but you see the Cornette Experience logo and all that, and they address the whole situation. And look, I'm not going to be long-winded. I do want to say this though. I do want to say this though. With what's been happening with this particular American president and his administration, the it's unhealthy. People are believing the most craziest, insane. You know, it's unfortunate. There's a lot of stuff that you're hearing out there, and you're seeing, and you're just going, help me make sense out of this. And there are people that feel very passionate. They feel a particular way about this current president and his administration, and how they can, you know, he can do no wrong. He's doing nothing but good for the country and all of that. That is why it's rare that I even talk politics. It is rare that I talk politics. Now, I know with this degree of journalism I'm trying to get over the next 2.5, almost 3 years, but I'm trying to go for 2.5 years max, if not less than that. If you were to ask me, yo, is journalism something that you, hell no. Hell no. I know my friends and family, even Tam, she's like, you've got a great mind for politics. You know your shit. You'd be a great political analyst. I'm like, I know, but no, that's not what I want to do. No. Get me as close to sports and entertainment as possible, and I'll make that work instead. Hell, I'll even do TV news reporting. Like, I'll even do that, but like, I don't want to deal with anything political. No. Let me tell you something. Travis is a grown ass man. Travis Heckle, he's a grown ass man. He can post whatever he want to post on social media. That's his right. It's his prerogative. Here's where it becomes an issue, though. When you're under your own name and you ain't even using a damn burner account, you ain't even, let me make some weird handle. White guy says crazy shit, right? That's your handle. Like, when you're not even doing that and you're posting all kinds of crazy shit out there, putting all kinds of weird, okay, whether it's fake or not, the fact that that has a domino effect, that it'll make people go, damn, who does this guy work for? Because, man, whoever is employing this man, something wrong with this dude. You don't need that kind of smoke. You don't. And kudos to Brian Lass and Jim for, they didn't even try to fire the guy. They just sent him the email, hey, could you please stop? And it seemed like 1 minute Travis was very apologetic, took accountability, and then the next day he decides he wants to dip. So I guess for however many followers he has on that respected account, I guess he just felt that he's at a place right now where monetary wise, you know, financially he's good. And that as far as his First Amendment right goes, freedom of, well, not First Amendment right, but the right as far as freedom of speech, I guess he felt that was more important to him than, so, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's one thing to share all kinds of conspiracy theories, talk all kinds of weird, stupid shit. That's one thing. But then to jump out there and then share a claim, spread whatever propaganda, or Joe Biden is a pedophile. Wait, what? And let me tell you something, throwing it back to wrestling and entertainment and all that other stuff. Let me tell you something. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine about this a couple of days ago. And we were just amazed at the fact that, it seems like in today's climate, when you get people that are, I don't know what you want to call it, either jealous or they got some type of personal issue with you, it just seems like, and especially it's dominant in the YouTube community. It seems that when you come across somebody that you don't like, the best way that you can try to strike at them, try to hurt them, and all that other crap is by making false accusations. And probably the worst thing that you can try to say about somebody is, and much like with the crap that's going on with Joe Biden, oh, well, just claim that they're a pedophile. Just do that. If you do that, oh yeah, not only will that trigger them, that'll get a huge reaction, and oh man, they'll be just foaming at the bit, and oh man, and my friend was telling me, yeah, he was like, dude, because there's some people that he's known for years, bigger following on YouTube than my channel, obviously, but he was telling me about how some of his friends in the YouTube world, how they, have dealt with their fair share of trolls. And I said, I don't understand. It's like, why? It's like, honestly, it was all said and done. It's like they like causing anarchy. They like trying to spread misinformation. When they come across somebody that they think is successful, they want to try to do everything they can to fuck with that. Like, really? Like, yeah. But goddamn, to jump out there and call a former president without any, substantial. But then, meanwhile, let's flip the script, and we see a lot of this stuff that's been going on with Trump and Epstein, and all these photos and this card that was sent by Trump, and pubic hairs and all drawing pubic hairs, and oh no, he's good. He's good. What are you talking? No, you're crazy. He's the greatest American president since George Washington. That same energy that was put on Biden, and but we ain't doing that for, but literally. Oh no, lies, nothing but lies. Look, all I'm saying, if Jim Cornette is paying my black ass almost six figures, and Jim Cornette says to me, "Can I please tone down the rhetoric when it comes to my social media postings?" Yeah, six figures. All I'm doing is drawing shit. Yeah, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Hey, I'll do Jim better. I'll go, okay, I'll stop. Well, between you and me, can I like at least get a burner account? I'll just make sure like it ain't got nothing to do with you guys, no mention of y'all. I won't even have it under my own name. I won't share no pictures. Can I just like make a burner account and say my stupid shit? I'm sure Jim Cornette would be like, fuck yeah. I'm like, okay, bet. I'm gonna keep getting that money. All right, I'm gonna keep collecting them damn checks. Fuck that. So, hey, another great opportunity for other artists to step up and all that. I've seen some really good artists in the past. There's one, I don't know who the artist was. You guys probably know the name, but there was this one artist that I really, really liked. The thumbnail, it had Jim Cornette as Professor X, and I guess CM Punk was maybe Wolverine. That was like the best damn thumbnail, and I just couldn't help but look at that and go, I need to see more artwork from this guy. Like, this guy, he's it. So hopefully he's somebody that they'll be going to more from time to time and everything. Some other stuff that we can get into here on the show here. It's kind of relatively quiet. Not really too much else has been happening since last we were on the air. So apparently Chris Jericho is spending some much needed time away from AEW. I would imagine he's also doing some stuff with Fozzy. Fozzy maybe isn't currently out doing a little bit of touring and all that other good stuff. I'm sure sooner rather than later that's going to be happening. All right. But his contract with AEW is not set to expire allegedly until December of this year. There was a post that he liked on social media where somebody said something along the lines of, yo, it'd be really great if we could see Chris Jericho come back to the WWE. So that got a lot of people talking and wondering what was going to be happening with Chris Jericho come December and everything. Is it even remotely possible that Chris Jericho could head back to the WWE? We've kind of heard a little something off and on over the years, right? 1 minute, Chris Jericho is saying, yo, AEW, this is the place. This is where I want to be. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm pretty much going to be retiring in AEW. Like, this is it. We've even Kind of seen him take little jabs at WWE here and there. Don't really think anything much of it though, because you're pretty much going, okay, yeah, we get it, Jericho. You gotta wave the AEW flag. Like, okay, understandable, man. Like, keep doing what you're doing. But I'm sure that, and I hate to burst this little bubble, but let me, on the real tip, Chris Jericho, first and foremost, is a businessman. So, Chris Jericho, when it's all said and done at the end of the day, this man is always going to do what is right for him financially. Because as I always like to say on this show, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I'm talking about that common sense. All right. So first and foremost, Chris Jericho is a businessman. So I would like to believe that if the right type of situation presented itself financially, Chris Jericho would be like, "Oh, hell yeah, I'm definitely on that." Okay. But seriously, now that we've talked about the money aspect, creatively, what would a Chris Jericho in WWE look like in January of 2026? What exactly would that look like? I mean, you got to ask yourself that, because for these people that are kicking back and they're doing a little bit of fantasy booking of Chris Jericho and everything, and look, that's great. That's great. But those of us that's been watching Chris Jericho in AEW since day one, okay, this guy is getting ready to turn 55 come November. He has slowed down quite a bit. Now, some people could say, yeah, he just needs to really hit the gym and get back to somewhat of a classic build that he was pushing. He doesn't even have to go that far back, but he does need to lose a little bit of weight, and he'll be good. Yeah, but Father Time is undefeated, boys and girls. So again, and look, I have seen some really bad performances from Chris Jericho during his time in AEW. I have. And then I've seen other scenarios where I felt, okay, this is supposed to help this guy, or this is supposed to help this guy, but if anything, Jericho has benefited more from it than anything else. It really didn't elevate the people that it was supposed to elevate. If anything, it kind of hindered them. So again, the question for me would be, so what does a Chris Jericho return to WWE look like in 2026? And to that, I say, give him the Goldberg farewell, give him the Shawn Michaels farewell, give him the Ric Flair farewell, give him the John Cena farewell. There is really only one main purpose that you can do with Chris Jericho at this point. If you're WWE, you bring him back, you let him do. If it were me, if it were me, if I'm Nick Khan, if I'm WWE, I'm going 2-year deal. We'll give you a 2-year deal. That first year, we're just going to have you lock up, you know, do some stuff, maybe have you do some exclusive house shows or whatnot. But that first year, we're going to mix it up. Definitely do a nice, proper reintroduction of you to the WWE universe and everything. Get you involved in some really good WWE projects. Your final year of your contract, that's where we're going to do your farewell tour. I don't know if you put him in the position where you have him be a world heavyweight champion one more time. I don't know if you exactly go that route, but I'm definitely picturing year 2. You let the man go on ahead and do that farewell tour. And then after that, see about getting him backstage as a coach. Do promo classes and all that other good stuff, right? But then the question becomes, is that something that Chris Jericho actually wants to do? Would he be fine with that respected role and be even more compensated on the back end by getting involved with various WWE projects? I can definitely picture the Chris Jericho brand, doing a whole bunch of really cool, stuff with WWE and the way in which they've been embracing social media and everything. Having a great mind like Chris Jericho to bounce social media ideas off of and everything, they would benefit tremendously from that. I know a long time ago, before AEW and all that, Chris Jericho had tried pitching a Jericho cruise to WWE, but they would not get behind it and all that, which brings me to this point. All these outside different projects. Now, we've seen in the past, WWE was very lenient and very flexible in working with Jericho on his Fozzy tours. So, what's going to happen there, though, with the I was going to call it the Fozzy cruise, but the Jericho cruise? Is that something that WWE will continue to, or are they looking at that as kind of like a conflict of interests? Or you feel where I'm coming from? So there's that whole streamline of accessibility, the talents that he's able to do for this cruise and all of that. Take away Tony Khan and the accessibility to the AEW roster, ROH roster, or for some of you, it's all under the same damn house. Just call it AEW. Okay, would he be able to tap into? I'll give you a good idea. I'll give you a good idea. You guys let me know what you think about this. I don't think anybody else is really going to be diving into this the way I'm getting ready to dive into this, the way I have been diving into this. But what? Okay, you're a consumer, and I really want to hear you all's thoughts about this. You're a consumer. Jericho Cruise and all that, they're now under partnership basically with TKO. Okay? And TKO, when it's all said and done, as we know, they've got the WWE portfolio, they've got the AAA portfolio, they've got that great working relationship with Pro Wrestling Noah, they've got the great partnership going on there with TNA Wrestling. So let me ask you, how would you feel about a future Chris Jericho cruise where some of the talents from Evolve, NXT, TNA, and maybe you get just one or two main roster stars? Now, I'm not going to give you a Rhea Ripley. I'm not going to give you a CM Punk. But maybe what I'll give you one year, maybe I'll give you Roxanne Perez, and maybe I'll give you Jacob Fatu. Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay going on a cruise where you're never going to get a Punk, a Roman Reigns, a Jey Uso, a Rhea Ripley? You're not going to get the heavy-hitting names. You ain't going to get Naomi. You ain't even going to get Solo Sikoa. You can forget about that. You might get Tala Tonga. You might get him. You'll probably get Los Garzas. You ain't going to get the Mysterios. You can forget that. You ain't going to get them. I might give you JD McDonough. Hell, I might even give you Mr. Iguana. You think you're going to get Lola Vice? Nah. I might give you Tony D'Angelo. You think you're going to get Jada Parker? No. I'm not going to give you Jada Parker. I might give you Nikita Lyons. You see where I'm getting at here? So the real question has to be for those that are interested in what a future WWE Jericho cruise might look like. Let's not call it WWE Jericho, but you get what I'm saying. Because if Jericho's going to be going back to the WWE, you just have to factor that type of stuff in. Because if WWE is not going to be willing to, then it makes all the sense in the world for Jericho to pretty much stay right where he is. Because honestly, he's got it so damn good. He really does. When you take a step back and you really think about it, he's got it so damn good. Could I see a Chris Jericho back in WWE? No, no, I really can't. My gut is telling me that despite everything that's going on with Jericho, my gut is telling me no, no Jericho in WWE in 2026. He'll continue to be in AEW. I honestly would be shocked if Jericho goes back to WWE. I really, really would be shocked. Sound off. Let me know what you think. Meanwhile, in MLW, David Sahadi's departure, that's pretty much ushered in a new production era. It's looking like. Not really sure how many of you guys had heard about that and everything, but that's a little bit of a shakeup that's going on in MLW right now. As honestly, it's when you stop and think about it, it's definitely quietly with what MLW has been doing as of late. It's been a refreshing approach, definitely from a production standpoint. And this honestly, it can do nothing but good for MLW as far as the broadcast feel for it and everything. So also with WWE's counter move with WrestlePalooza, that adds even more of that narrative of an overlap for fans tracking WWE versus AEW. Now they're even having more to talk about there, right? It really feeds into that narrative of WWE trying to do more events, counter events to what AEW is doing and everything. Also, TNA wrestling. For those of you that's like, who the hell is David Sahadi? He's been a long time veteran producer, best known for his work in the WWE Attitude Era. He has officially departed MLW. So if you ever checked out MLW, you kind of were like, this kind of has a WWE, almost kind of an Attitude Era kind of vibe. Now you know why. And basically, nothing controversial. This is just internal production changes that's occurred. And MLW, they're now steering its creative direction on a different path. So that's definitely a shakeup that's going on. And as I was alluding to earlier with WWE and the whole WrestlePalooza thing, they're also eyeing the strategic moves involving TNA, as many of you guys know. And either that's going to see a direct acquisition or facilitating one through a friendly party like ex UFC owner Lorenzo Ferreira, as WWE also holds a right of first refusal for any sale. The goal right now is to bolster TNA as a solid counterpart to AEW. And with what WWE is continuing to do here for TNA, nothing but a lot of good could potentially happen from out of this, right? So, and of course, at the very end, the WWE could ultimately just go, look, TNA, just sell it to us. We'll buy it from you. Like, just give it to us. Meanwhile, speaking of TNA, Lei Ying Lee, she has re-signed the former Xi Lee She's renewed her contract with TNA as of August 15th. Remember, she was a really cool standout in the Knockouts division there for TNA. So that's some really good news. She also had ended up chasing the tag titles with Zaya Brookside and all that. So it's good news for her and everything. And then meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about AEW's Forbidden Door. Right, they've got this coming up on August the 24th, which is going to be this coming weekend. I'll poll you guys. That's going to be on a Sunday too. Oh my god, on a Sunday. I'm gonna have to suck that up. I mean, look, on a good note, I'm usually home on Sundays anyway. I'm not working on Sundays, so I hate working on Sundays. I refuse to work Sundays, so it actually kind of works out pretty good for me. Going to be out there August 24th, London. Card is looking stacked right now. Right now, we got for the IWGP World Heavyweight title, Nigel McGuinness taking on Zack Sabre Jr. Elsewhere, AEW World Championship match, Hangman Adam Page defends against MJF. Loved how Hangman on this past week's Dynamite ended up tricking MJF into cashing in that contract opportunity of his. Cash it in, get that shot at the title. Great stuff. We got a tag reunion as Adam Copeland and Christian Cage will take on Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. And we've got more matches that include Will Ospreay in a steel cage bout against Jon Moxley's Death Riders, plus the Trios champs. It's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff that's going on. Let's not also forget that from TNA, formerly of TNA, Ace Austin recently signed with AEW. And, he lost to Ricochet in his debut, but it was a damn good debut that, nice, flashy-ass offense, everything that you would expect of Ace Austin. Great to see that he got that opportunity. I can't wait to see what happens with Ace Austin in AEW going forward. And have to continue to see how that, develops. Also, Full Gear 2025 was announced by AEW. That is officially going to be taking place November 22nd at the Prudential Center out there in New Jersey. So tickets are going to be going on sale for that August 25th for those of you might be looking to secure your tickets. Other than that, that is relatively it. I think we did pretty good. We went about 2 minutes. Oh no, what's that? 2 hours? Yeah, about 2 hours and 7 minutes. That's not too bad. I think we did pretty good. Hey, before we get ready to roll out, I definitely want to give a shout out to everybody that's been supporting the shows on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcasts. Search the RCWR show. Also want to give a mad shout out to our sponsors, because without them, content like what you're checking out right now would not be made possible. So I definitely want to give them their flowers here. First of all, shout out to our good friends over at Crazy About Keto. Get your free 41-page keto starter guide. It's for free for a limited time. Crazy About Keto is offering a premium 41-page beginner's guide, regularly priced at $30, completely free, to help kickstart your keto journey. Perfect for anyone curious about low-carb living and wanting to learn the basics fast. So make sure you check out the link in the description of this very episode so you can go download yourself a link. Now, they're going to need an email address. If you don't want to use your main email, like everybody's got at least another dummy email account that they typically use. Go use that. Take advantage of that. Also, we're brought to you in part by Blue Medical Diagnostics. Check them out at Blue S Medical or bluesmedical.com. Trusted DNA and testing, immigration consulting, Blues Medical Diagnostics, where you can get clarity and peace of mind. They are a trusted provider of testing and immigration consulting services for families nationwide. When accuracy and reliability matter most, choose a partner you can depend on. Check them out at bluesmedical.com. We're also brought to you in part by mobilechapel.net, where you can get daily faith and encouragement. It is where true faith speaks. Get some really powerful, inspirational, uplifting messages to help you walk boldly in faith and speak life over yourself and your loved ones every single day. Once again, that's mobilechapel.net. We're also brought to you in part by my friends over there at the IME radio station, your global soundtrack featuring the hottest sounds from indie artists and 90s to 2000s throwbacks mixed in with today's top 40 hits. Think of it as a world tour for your ears. Tune in and vibe out, my pretty babies. Discover some crowd favorites and some hidden gems. We're talking from the United States, Europe, Canada, all over the world, baby. Check them out. The IME radio station, streaming 24/7. Last but not least, we're brought to you in part by my friend Gary S. Park and his new book, Parenting with God's Heart, Loving Your Children Through Faith. Pick up that book over on Amazon or by visiting his website at GarySPark.com. Again, appreciate all of our sponsors. Love all these guys. I'm reminded briefly, I got an email earlier today from turns out a listener of the show, and I won't mention the guest, but I had this person. I was reading this person's email, and they said, Lee, was hearing about what you had to say in regards to your SummerSlam post show, Brock Lesnar's return, and the ramifications of it, the good and the bad, and everything. And when it was all said and done, there was this guest that they had pitched to me. And I was flattered. I won't mention the guest's name. I was very, very flattered. It might be a big name to some of you guys. I've never heard of this person before, and when I researched them, I said, yeah, I'm not familiar with this person. But that's not why I ended up saying no to the interview. But yeah, they wanted me to interview this person, a colleague of theirs, friend of theirs. I'm not sure, maybe a client of theirs. But I told them nicely, yeah, no, sorry, I'm not doing any interviews right now. And I was very flattered because, not for nothing, to be in a position where I've been doing this show for as long as I have, and to be where I'm at a point where people are hitting me up, because normally through the years it would be me hitting them up and trying to find out if they're available and if they could make time for me and all that. And I haven't done a interview in like 2 years. I mean, the last string of interviews that we did was with the Wild Women of Wrestling promotion. And they were hitting me up, and I kept telling myself, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm now busy, like school and everything. Like, I just don't have the free time. So to anybody out there that is maybe interested, like, I wish I could. I don't have the free time. You may have heard me say, maybe if I could try to get a hold of this name, or if I could try to, that's because there's something there that definitely relates to my field, and I know it wouldn't be the typical type of interview that most people would expect. And it's, yeah, that's what I got. That's really, I already heard that interview already. That's really, when I'm proud to say that the interviews I've done over the years, it's always something different, and I like doing my very best to try to bring the very best out of the people that I interview, while at the same time making that interview come off really as a conversation. So it's nice to be getting offers to do interviews, but please, people, I implore you, I just don't have the free time. I just don't. I really don't. I made the exception for One person. And you guys probably know who I'm talking about. I actually ended up hearing back from the publicist. And they said, Lee, we are so sorry, but we were swarmed with interviews for so and so. You know, we're going to have to put you on the back burner. And if anything changes, if anything opens up where he can do an interview, we'll definitely let you know. But I admit I was a little too late by the time I had did it. I really should have been on it like maybe a month ago, trying to get some feelers out and all that, trying to see how that was going to go. But that really, if you kind of go back to the past 2 weeks, you'll kind of know exactly who I'm talking about, right? I'm going to make you guys work for that one. Kind of test you guys out, see how well you all been paying attention. But besides that, yeah, let's take a fork in it. Call this episode DONE done. For more great load of stuff we've been putting out these past several weeks, man. Even with more foodie reviews. I mean, we've been going a whole 9 yards, man. If you haven't hit up the YouTube channel, definitely show that channel a lot of love. Hit the subscribe. We've been picking up some subs and getting more views and all that. Really helps out with the analytics. Help that channel grow more. So hit the like, all that good jazz. And get at me all throughout social media using the same keywords. Your next edition of the RCWR show. Stay connected to YouTube and TikTok because I will be offering some Forbidden Door predictions. So we will do that. And I am going to say Sunday night, I'm going to be around. I will gladly do a Forbidden Door post show for you guys. So for your AEW fans, you miss me talking about AEW, just AEW, that Forbidden Door show is definitely going to be for you. So definitely check that out. If you're waiting for the audio version of this, give me about 45 minutes at most, and I will have this whipped up. And you'll be able to enjoy this for your downloading and listening pleasure. Until next go round, my pretty babies. Wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I'll see y'all next go round. Take care.